What is going on, people? Welcome back to the YouTube channel and the final episode of the Displaying Classic Prep series. All good things must come to an end, but in today's video, we're going to do a full season wrap-up, run through each show that I competed in within the season, what I learned from that show, and how I'm truly feeling after my first run in the NPC. And then more importantly, what my competitive plans are going forwards. Because me and Dan have sat down and confirmed what our next moves are. And we're also going to announce the next series on this YouTube channel, which is super exciting. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's going to be more of a sit down and waffle, but hopefully provide some value along the way and reflect on what was an amazing first season in the NPC. So prep was 22 weeks in its entirety. We pulled off 17 kilos, down from 108 kilos as our start point, and then finished prep roughly around 91 kilos as our finish point. Stage weight was somewhere around 92 to 93 kilos. And we actually bottomed out at 90 kilos at one point in prep. And I'm going to put the transformation up on the screen here so you can see where we started prep and where we finished, and that entire transformation, which is pretty crazy looking back on it. You never realize how fat you start. And I think that would be something that I definitely take forwards into the next prep, is starting from an even leaner position. I pulled off about 15 kilos in body weight, which was super manageable. In the past, I've done 20 kilos or above, which definitely impacts the final look. But I think as you progress through your career as an athlete, you probably want to take off less total body weight per prep and start in a leaner position. So I'm sure we will do that next time round, as we will keep the off season even tighter. So going into this prep, the priority was obviously getting in stage condition, but managing the prep so that we didn't lose the legs. We knew that my legs were borderline not big enough in regards to the standard required to gain an IFBB Pro card. So if we just bullied the weight off to stage condition, we know we would have lost my legs. So we were very strategic in how we managed this prep, with frequent high days on my leg days, a very push and pull approach to ensure that we didn't dig for too hard for too long to the point where we lost our legs or lost leg performance, and also had to manage around a few leg niggles as well throughout prep. And I'm super proud of how we managed that, because looking at the photos, I don't feel like I lost any tissue within the legs. Yes, they might look a little bigger in the off season when you're carrying a lot of body fat there, but in regards to actual contractile tissue, I feel like we kept the legs there, and even through the peak brought a really nice degree of fullness where there was real balance between my upper and lower body, and they didn't necessarily look like a glaring weak point. So super proud of how we managed that and still got into very competitive condition. Now, trying to push for a little more condition within this prep would have been a detriment to the overall look. I always strive to be fat free, but this is not simply a fat loss contest. This is bodybuilding, and it is all about the total package you put on stage. And that package I put on stage was as competitive as possible, because it incorporated a balance of stage condition, yet not losing those body parts which were borderline not big enough to be competitive for an IFBB Pro card. So I know in future preps, as I build more tissue in those areas, you can push even harder for condition and not worry about sacrificing certain body parts. So by the time we finished up fat loss, we confirmed to ourselves that we added 14 kilos of stage weight in comparison to my previous prep, which is just mind-blowing to me that I can add 14 kilos of contractile tissue onto my physique in one off season. And if I can even achieve half of that within the next off season, the prospect of that blows my mind. The most exciting thing walking away from prep this year is knowing how much room I still have within my weight cap, yet how competitive I still was against people who were maxing out the weight cap and struggling to make weight. A lot of the guys who did just about beat me in the overalls this year were maxing out their weight cap and were desperate to turn pro to get more room. Whereas I've still got probably 7 or 8 kilos, because every time I weighed in, I had clothes on, I had food in the system, there was no manipulation of water or anything, because we didn't need to. So we've truly got 8 or 9 kilos of room to add stage weight. The thought of what that could look like is super exciting, and obviously outcomes that will come from adding that stage weight, super exciting as well. So let's start with the first show of the season, which was the final Two Bros regional qualifier, in which the standard was extremely high. And I knew this going in, as it was the final qualifier, right? So a lot of people will choose this show because it's in close proximity to the British finals and the British IFBB Pro qualifier. So going in, as I mentioned previously, I had no expectations other than to go in, gain data, have some fun, dust off the cobwebs, and see if I could be competitive within my class and hopefully get through to an overall. We obviously walked away from that show with a first place in my class and my first ever overall. This was such an overwhelming but unbelievable experience. So this show provided me with belief and confirmation that we are on the right track, that we made all of the correct decisions after stepping off stage 2 years ago. And it all built up to this moment where I finally won my first ever show and walked away with the overall. So I will never forget this show for the rest of my career because it was my first ever overall. So that will never be forgotten. So we then had 2 weeks to prepare for the British finals, in which the judges' feedback was just edge for a little more condition, but we knew in the British finals we were going to be on stage later in the day. We knew that the standard was going to be a step higher again, with European athletes coming to battle for the pro card. And I was just so excited going into that show, knowing that I could put something really special on stage in front of a huge crowd on the biggest stage that I have ever stepped foot on. A stage where people were trying to qualify for the Olympia the following year, in front of a crowd with some really respected individuals within the industry. So I was still going in with no expectations because there was over 38 classic physique individuals in that show. And we had a really tight battle within my class, but we managed to come away with a class win. And I absolutely love this medal with the British flag on there, with trained by JP, and the IFBB medal on there, which is so, so cool. And we obviously got through to the overall and just missed out on the IFBB Pro card by the skin of my teeth. And this show was all about making a statement. It was an opportunity to display true classic physique in front of some really big names in the industry and get some awesome feedback. I wasn't expecting to walk into my first ever IFBB Pro qualifier and just go and get the pro card. Yes, expectations that were put upon me had changed after winning the overall at the first regional, but I was very aware of the standard of the amateur scene and what amateurs are out there going for an IFBB Pro card. So to get that close was more than enough for me. Yes, it was painful knowing how close it was, but I truly come away from that show so happy still that we got that close within my first ever attempt against so many other athletes. So we then obviously made the decision to go again, gain some international experience and go for a pro qualifier in Poland. We went out to Poland unaware of who would be in the show, excited to get in front of a different judging panel with a judge who has judged at the Olympia, which is amazing. And that was a really enjoyable show, extremely well run, but once again, an eye-opener into the levels to this sport. And that you can't just go and walk in and grab your pro card unless you're a genetic freak. So there were some big boys there. Once again, guys who are maxing out their weight cap and had a lot of tissue. So we actually took third in my class at this show. This is the coolest medal of the season though. Look at the size of that. Such a cool looking medal, such an amazing experience. Yes, it wasn't what we came for, but it's experience. And quick success builds ego. Slow success builds character. You need to experience loss. You need to experience adversity. You need to experience losing, not only to gain the gratitude and the appreciation for when you do win, but also to fuel progress. Coming away from this season knowing I was that close is going to inject so much fuel, so much fire into this next improvement phase. So this season far exceeded my expectations in regards to placings and what I achieved. My expectations were met with what we put on stage because I hold myself to an extremely high standard and I expected nothing else but to put my physique on stage at its max capacity. We done that. That was my expectation going in. I had no expectations of where that physique would land me. But we've now got that information that we are knocking on the door. And I can confidently say that that physique we put on stage this year could have turned pro on the right day, on the right show. Does that matter? No. Because it doesn't change the trajectory of what we need to do to achieve my long-term goals of reaching the Olympia and being one of the best classic physique athletes in the world. It doesn't change what the next steps are, regardless of whether I picked up the IFBB Pro card at the British Finals or at the Poland Pro Show. It would not change our actions stepping off stage. So the goal now going into this off season is not only to build a pro standard physique, but to build a competitive pro standard physique that then walks into the next IFBB Pro qualifier almost guaranteeing a pro card because of the standard of my physique, but then has the opportunity to step on a pro stage in the same season and be competitive as a pro, not turn pro by the skin of my teeth and come last call outs in a pro qualifier. So if I turn pro this year, I would have to go away, spend at least 18 months or a year to build a pro quality physique that can be competitive in a pro show. We're going to do the exact same thing now without that pro status, so that when we go for an IFBB Pro qualifier next season, we should achieve that status, but then go step on a pro stage and also be somewhat competitive there and not look out of place. So that is why I can step away from this season so happy, because not only am I rich with memories, experiences, we've gained so much data around this new physique that is 14 kilos heavier than last time I stepped on stage. We can now take all of that forwards into an off season and do the exact same thing as if I achieved pro status. Now, the initial goal was to set out on an 18-month improvement phase to achieve that level of physique and go on a very similar run of shows. Pick a really late regional within the year, go on to the IFBB Pro qualifier in the UK, and then if necessary, go to another international pro qualifier, and then go step on a pro stage out in America or in Europe. However, I've had conversations with Dan. I've had conversations with other really valued figures within my life who have also reached the Olympia. And we've come to the decision that the next stage we stand on is going to be the Arnold Classic in Ohio, out in America. Arguably the biggest stage in the world outside of the Olympia. If we achieve what we set out to achieve within this off season, I want to turn pro on the most challenging stage possible, on the biggest, most competitive stage in the world outside of the Olympia, in front of some of the most renowned judges in the world. I want to put my name on the map out in America, try and turn pro at the Arnold Classic in 2027, because the winner of the Arnold Amateur gets instant qualification to the Arnold Pro Show the following year. That opportunity is absolutely monumental. Yes, the standard will be higher than ever before. The stakes will be higher than ever before, putting all of my eggs in that basket. And the goal would be to go to that show, turn pro, achieve qualification for the Arnolds the following year, but also then go on to a run of American pro shows, possibly Detroit and some of the other shows that are in close proximity to the Arnold. So what does that mean now going into the off season? It means I would have to start prep for the Arnold Classic in 2027 at the end of next year in December. This gives us 12 months to achieve a pro standard physique. Therefore, we have no room for error. I need to operate on a level within this off season that I have never operated on before. And me and Dan have already talked through what is going to be required in my daily routine for that entire year in order to achieve those results. So I am so excited to document that process. We're still in recovery right now, recovering from prep. We're holding back the reins. It's like we're pulling back the slingshot. But I'm very excited to set out on this next improvement phase. We've probably got 2 extensive stints of pushing up within this year, with a mini pullback in between. Time is of the essence. There is no room for error. It needs to be perfection from start to finish in the way that we execute this off season. So I am so excited to document all of that and the process and what I will be doing in order to achieve a competitive pro standard physique. So I think it's time to wrap up this video by announcing the next series, and that is Building Classic. We've wrapped up Displaying Classic. It's now time to show you how I build a pro standard classic physique and every single facet that is included within that, from recovery to training to nutrition to the 0.1% that I'm going to be hunting for on a daily basis to try and push myself ahead of any other athlete I'll be against on that Arnold Classic stage in 2027. I look forward to taking you on this journey. I want to say thank you for everybody who has shown such overwhelming and amazing support on this Displaying Classic series. It's the end of another chapter and the start of another. So please make sure, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Make sure notifications are turned on so you don't miss another video of this new series. And I'll see you there.